Have you ever been falsified, your name dragged through mud, your character questioned, your heart misunderstood? Have you ever laid awake at night thinking, I didn't do anything to deserve this? So why does it hurt so much? If you've been there, if you're still there, then Psalm 7 is God's personal word for your soul today. Because in this ancient cry from King David, we hear the voice of a man betrayed, attacked, and hunted, not by enemies on the battlefield, but by lies that pierced deeper than any sword. And yet, he doesn't fight back with fists. He doesn't chase revenge. He falls to his knees and cries out to God for justice. Not petty revenge, not instant karma, but holy justice. This psalm is raw, emotional, fierce, and if you've ever been the target of gossip, slander, manipulation, or cruelty, this is your psalm. Psalm 7 opens with these words, O Lord my God, in you I take refuge. Save me from all my pursuers and deliver me. Right away, David isn't asking for power. He's asking for protection. He's not trying to fix it on his own. He's running into the arms of God. This is the heartbeat of someone who knows the battle is bigger than him. And yet, he trusts that the one who defends truth sees everything. Because when people lie about you, when stories are twisted, and you can't explain yourself, when they don't want the truth, they just want to watch you fall, you need more than an argument. You need a refuge. And David says, Lord, you are that refuge. Now picture what he says next. Or like a lion, they will tear me apart. They will drag me away with no one to rescue me. The imagery is violent, graphic, and honest. David isn't being dramatic. He's being real. That's the power of the Psalms. They teach us we don't have to filter our pain before God. We can come undone in His presence and still be deeply loved. But then comes something even more stunning. Lord my God, if I have done this, and there is guilt on my hands, if I have repaid my ally with evil, then let my enemy pursue and overtake me. Wait, what? David is actually inviting God to search his heart. He's not blindly saying, I'm innocent, they're evil. He says, God, if there's a NY truth in what they say, then judge me too. That's humility. That's spiritual maturity. Because before we ask God to confront the lies around us, we must first let Him confront the pride within us. David is bold, but not arrogant. He's wounded, but still willing to be refined. And that's a hard prayer to pray. Lord, vindicate him, but only if I'm really clean in this. As we go deeper into Psalm 7, something powerful unfolds. Arise, Lord, in your anger. Rise up against the rage of my enemies. David is asking God to stand up, to take the throne as judge, to weigh every word, every motive, every secret plan in light of divine truth. Let's be honest, when we're hurt, we want people to pay, but David says, let the assembled peoples gather around you. While you sit enthroned over them on high, He's handing over the case. He's stepping back and saying, God, you be the judge. I trust you to see it all clearly. That's not a weakness. That's spiritual strength. Because trusting God's justice means you stop defending yourself to people who don't want the truth. You stop chasing every rumor trying to correct it. You surrender your name to the one who holds your identity. Maybe you've been there too. Someone twisted your words, spread a lie, assumed the worst about you, turn others against you with a single whisper. And the pain wasn't just emotional, it was spiritual. Because when people attack your character, it makes you question your worth. But Psalm 7 reminds us, your name is safe in God's hands. He is the one who sees behind every mask. He knows the real story, and even if no one else defends you, He will. David says something radical next. The Lord judges the people. Judge me, Lord, according to my righteousness, according to my integrity, O Most High. This isn't about perfection. This is about alignment, saying, Lord, I've walked with a clean heart. I've chosen what's right, even when it hurts. And here's the truth. Sometimes the most painful attacks come after we've done the right thing. Sometimes being faithful, it's misunderstood. Sometimes choosing the truth means losing people. But God sees. Bring to an end the violence of the wicked and make the righteous secure. You, the righteous God who probes minds and hearts, you see. He's not just asking for outward justice. He's asking for inward clarity. He wants God to search every motive, because real peace doesn't come from being proven right. It comes from being right with God. David now turns up the heat. My shield is God Most High, who saves the upright in heart. God is a righteous judge, a God who displays His wrath every day. That sounds intense, doesn't it? But here's what it means. God doesn't sleep on injustice. He's not ignoring the lies. He's not brushing off your tears. He's not passive when cruelty spreads. He is active, engaged, watching, responding. And when David says, God displays His wrath daily, he's not talking about a raging God. He's describing a God who loves justice audibly. He cannot stay silent forever. Now here's where it gets personal. David says, if He does not relent, He will sharpen His sword. He will bend and string His bow. Wait, is that toward the enemy? Or could that also include us? When we carry unrepentant pride, this psalm isn't just about them. It's about us. Because God's justice isn't just something He hands out to others. It's something He brings into us to purify, to heal, to correct. And that's beautiful. Because when we surrender our pain to Him, He doesn't just punish the enemy. He restores us too. David ends this portion of the psalm by painting a vivid picture. Whoever is pregnant with evil conceives trouble and gives birth to disillusionment. That's intense, he's saying. Evil intentions may look powerful at first, but they always collapse under their own weight. Lies don't last forever. Manipulation backfires. Fake stories crumble in the presence of truth. David isn't celebrating his own strength. He's warning us. When you live in deception, you give birth to emptiness. But when you walk in truth, even when misunderstood, you are walking with God Himself. And that's why David lifts his eyes one last time and says, I will give thanks to the Lord because of His righteousness. I will sing the praises of the name of the Lord Most High. But that's where David draws the line. He refuses to let the lies define him. He refuses to let the enemy write the ending. Instead, he takes all of it, his fear, his frustration, his sense of injustice, and lays it at God's feet. Let the evil of the wicked come to an end. He says, but establish the righteous. David doesn't just want vengeance. He wants restoration. He's not asking for blood. He's asking for balance. A world where truth wins and the upright don't have to look over their shoulders anymore. And here's the beauty. David isn't claiming to be sinless. He's simply saying, Lord, If I've done wrong, judge me fairly, but if not, then rise up as my defender. That's humility. That's maturity. That's the heart of someone who wants justice, not just for himself, but for the world around him. Because here's the hard truth. Sometimes the people who wound us never apologize. Sometimes they never face consequences here on earth. And that hurts. But David reminds us, we don't have to carry that weight. There is a judge, and he sees it all. Not one tear, not one lie, not one wound escapes his gaze. David even refers to God as a righteous judge, a God who displays his wrath every day. That might sound intense, but it's actually a comfort, because a God who never gets angry at evil is not a God worth trusting, but a God who burns against injustice, a God who steps in to defend the innocent. That's a God you can rest in. You see, we often think of God's justice as distant, delayed, something that'll happen someday, but David sees it as active daily. God isn't asleep on the job. He's sharpening his sword. He's readying his bow. The imagery here is fierce, but it's not vengeful. It's righteous. It's the language of a God who will not let evil win forever. And then, in a stunning shift, David turns the spotlight. Suddenly, he's not just talking about them. He's warning everyone. Whoever is pregnant with evil, he says, conceives trouble and gives birth to disillusionment. That's poetic. But it's also deeply personal, because here's the deal. When we nurse resentment, when we plot behind closed doors, when we let bitterness take root, what we birth is not victory, it's destruction. The trap we set for others, we often fall into ourselves. David paints the picture. A man digs a hole for someone else, then falls into it. The evil he planned comes back to crush him. That's not karma. That's the consequence. And David is reminding us that God's justice is not just courtroom justice. It's moral gravity. What goes around often comes back around, not because the universe is watching, but because God is. And so, after all the raw emotion, after all the pleading, after all the wrestling, David ends with worship. I will give thanks to the Lord because of his righteousness. I will sing the praises of the name of the Lord Most High. That's a powerful choice, because nothing's been resolved yet. The enemy hasn't been silenced. The pain hasn't vanished. But David chooses to worship anyway, not after the breakthrough, but before. That's what faith looks like. That's what trust sounds like. He knows who goaties, even when he doesn't understand what God is doing. And maybe that's exactly where you are right now. Maybe someone's twisted your words. Maybe you've been slandered, lied about, stabbed in the back. Maybe the people who promised to stand by you disappeared when the fire got hot, and you're tired of defending yourself. Then hear this. You don't have to. Your name may be dragged through the mud, but it's not your job to pull it out. God is your defender. He is your refuge. He sees what they did. He hears what you've cried. He knows what they don't, and he will answer. Not always when you want, but always when it's right. So here's the question. Can you trust God's justice more than your own? Can you worship while you wait? Can you choose peace while others choose chaos? Can you lay your case before the judge of all and walk away in faith? Because that's the path David walked, and it's the path we're invited to follow. Let this psalm remind you. God is not blind, he is not silent, and he will not be mocked. But neither will he abandon those who trust him. even when the voices shout louder than truth, even when the fire gets hotter, even when justice seems far away. The Lord is still on the throne, so today release the fight. Let go of the need to be right, the urge to be vindicated, the craving to be understood. Lay it down and let God lift you up. Let your story echo David's. I will give thanks to the Lord because of his righteousness. I will sing the praises of the name of the Lord Most High. That's your victory song. Even before the battle ends, if this message spoke to you today, drop an amen in the comments. Let others know they're not alone by sharing this video. And if you haven't already, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a moment of encouragement from God's Word. Which lines in this psalm hit you the hardest? Let me know in the comments below. I read everyone.